he could be the next heavyweight champion.
If I was a betting man, I'd say he probably doesn't fight for a title again.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what fighters do.
Live on the Fightlete Report.
Different. It's just a totally different world.
They will promote all the fighters and we're working together.
I don't want to do it at 80% or 90%. I want to be 100, 110%.
It's been an honor to have you on the show. Well, if you have got Nicholas Maximov on the Fightlete Report, back on, of course. And if you haven't yet, check out Submission Underground 16. Again, a huge victory by Nicholas. If you guys didn't see it, right in the closing moments of the regulation time before overtime, he got the big victory over Colton Vaughn by submission. Of course, he trains at the Diaz Brothers Gym, Stockton, California. And we appreciate you being on the show, Submission Underground. Obviously now you've got 2 victories in a row and so talk about that, and also talk about, the bout against Colton Vaughn. How'd you prepare for your opponent, and what did you feel like you were able to capitalize on?
Yeah, it was good. It was fun. For training wise, it was kind of hard. I was out camping about 2 weeks before with some of my family and stuff. So I got the call for like a week and a half, 2 weeks early, and then I only trained for about a week, really. I mean, I always run and lift and do my thing and try to get sessions in, every day. But I train like hard, like putting in 3 practices a day, probably only with the weeks in. So I didn't really like get a full training like how I would. But with the whole quarantine and everything, it's kind of, you just take what you can get. You know what I'm saying? So that was cool.
Yeah.
With Colton, though, it was good. It was just he's a big guy, strong guy. I knew he liked to do leg locks, so I was really cautious with what I was doing. I know he was a leg locker, so it was just kind of like I wanted to be very wary of where my feet were compared to his. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
I don't want to get caught or anything again. So it was cool to leg lock him. You know what I'm saying? Get a leg lock like that. So that was cool. Yeah.
For sure. I mean, like when you see Colton, he was on top. Talk about, find that Achilles lock. Like it was a really expert, really advanced move to pull off. I mean, it was under a minute. Obviously, had it gone to overtime, things might have been different. Everything reset. So, what did you see from Colton when he was on top of you? And then what made you want to go back to bottom, transition back to bottom to get that Achilles lock?
Well, the reason I went to transitions because I felt comfortable with what I had. My leg lock felt pretty secured, so I felt really comfortable. I was surprised it wasn't very loose or anything for being 5 minutes in.
Sure.
I'm like, I thought it was gonna be kind of sweatier or whatnot, but it was fine. He was just a stronger, bigger dude. I'm not in the match I know I can wrestle people. I know I can, strike people. I know I can do this or that. So I was kind of just trying to work. What can I do off my back against a guy who's probably bigger than me and maybe stronger than me? What can I do? And I felt like I created a lot of openings. So it was cool to just kind of experiment with it. You know what I'm saying? I was talking a lot of shit about the overtime, how I hated overtime and everything. And my dad was actually texting me. Told me after, man, you cut it way too close to being in overtime after saying all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like I had to get it done. So it was good. I think I was one of the 1 or 2 matches to actually finish in regulation. I think every other match went to overtime. So I just think the problem with overtime is I think a lot of people fight to go to overtime so they can say they can beat a guy.
Right.
When in my opinion, it's like I guess it depends on the match. Like if you're beating the guy throughout the match, then sure. But I think a lot of people compete to go to overtime so they can say they can win. Right. You know what I'm saying? It's a really difficult topic to really speak on, I guess, but it's just not how I would do it. But, you just got to deal with the rule set. So it's just what I do.
Yeah, and being able to get that move that was really amazing, obviously a great performance for you. And so talk also about the precautions. Like, was there a COVID testing the past 2 events that you went to for SUG? Like, what did you exactly have to do to, be able to step in the cage?
They just ask a bunch of stuff, like, have you been around anyone? They take your temperature. It's pretty normal stuff.
Okay.
You don't do the whole swab up the nose or whatever, but they just ask you and kind of just take your word for it. A gentleman's agreement, I guess. So Just being honest with what you're saying, you know.
For sure. And now with the 2 back-to-back victories in SUG, what's next for you? I know, you had Craig Jones. He won by neck crank and overtime over Fowler at Submission Underground 16. Like, is he in your sights?
I think Fowler beat Jones.
Oh, Fowler beat Jones. Yeah. So talk about what's next for you.
Man, I was supposed to go against Mason, and I've been kind of trying to tell people, him and I both took third at Worlds at brown belt. Him and I have very similar opponents. Obviously he, 180cc trials. I didn't. So I think there's a lot to be done there. We were supposed to compete against each other at Fight to Win for the title back in, I think, January. So, but he hurt his knee. So I've been trying to pitch it to people like, dude, and we're both 4-0 in MMA. I don't think he fights anymore. I think he just does straight jiu-jitsu. But
right.
I'm like, man, there's a lot there. Could be a lot there. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It might be something to think about. If he wins, that'd be cool for me. Try to get that title shot against him. If he loses, it makes even more sense, just because he's such a high level, grappler, and I think it'd be cool to go against him. I was supposed to already, so why not?
Yeah, that'd be an exciting matchup, and he just beat Craig Jones, who's was one of the top guys in the world. Obviously he was on an incredible win streak as well. So definitely a feather in your cap if you were to fight Mason Fowler. Now, when you ever watch UFC events and you see these fights, do you ever look at these submission attempts and feel like, man, if I was in there, I could finish it? But obviously you don't know the condition that they're going through. We don't know, obviously if they are, if they're gassed, what their gas level is at. But do you ever see them and feel like, oh, I could do that. I could finish that move. If only I was in there coaching them or.
Sure. Yeah. I just don't think upper weight guys are that great at grappling.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's as simple as that. I think they're strong and stuff, but I think if you can wear them down a lot more. I think they just don't have. I started this when I was probably 120 pounds, so I have a very small guy mentality when I go to grapple. I can also be, I wrestle, so I also have that wrestler mentality, but I have a grappler's ability of, like, I think a 130 pounder, 140 pounder. I'm still flexible, but I'm still powerful because of wrestling. I think I have a good combination of both. So it's when I see grapplers, I'm like, they just don't look like they know what they're doing when they're on the ground. They don't look very calculated. You know what I'm saying? They don't look like when I went for that leg lock, that's a risky leg lock because I'm on top and I'm going, on my back. It's not like I'm staying on top. It's not like I'm staying with my pressure forward. I'm going to my back and I'm risking a position for a submission. So I think that's something a lot of guys won't do, but that is what also will make me more entertaining than most fighters. So I think there's just something different. I don't know. That's just how I view it. But yeah.
Did you see any fighters up in the heavier classes you feel like are pretty good? Like they are good at finishing submissions? Not just UFC, but any of the promotions.
I think the best grappler probably in all of MMA that's upper weight is Jacare.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, other than that, it's like, who else is better? I'm trying to think. There's good wrestlers. Curtis Blades is a great wrestler. Him and I have the same exact wrestling pedigree, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So, he's a good wrestler. Yeah. When you think of upper weights, though, you don't think of grapplers.
True.
You know what I'm saying? You think of more power punchers and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's hard for me to think of other guys. That's why I think I'll be a big problem. I just think because I can mix it all or intertwine it all better than most people.
For sure.
Yeah.
And when you look at some of the MMA promotions we have returning, we have LFA that's back regularly. So any interested to take an MMA fight there if they had offered you?
Been trying to talk to LFA right now. Just getting the word out to them. The more people that talk to them, the better for me. I've been texting the guy. I have a few people that have been talking to him. So it's just about kind of finding the right person and kind of getting the best connection possible, I guess, to them. I don't know. I've been biting, scratching, at their toes trying to get in there, but I don't know. It seems like they're just pretty busy.
hopefully things open up, and I'm sure that you would love to get your chance to get a shot at that light heavyweight belt.
Dude, I watched light heavyweight, and he's a good fighter, but he's just a wrestler. You know, that's about all he is. He's just a wrestler, and it's something I want to get a shot at. I don't know, he's just too one-dimensional from what I've seen. He's a great wrestler, but that's how a lot of the upperweight guys are. They're one-dimensional. So that's something I think I can expose in a lot of people. So
Definitely. And can you tell us more about Chelsea Chandler? You know, she recently got in the spotlight with Invicta 40. You know, she trains at the Nate Diaz Academy, I believe, as well. Defeating Liv Parker by submission. So, any opinion about her? Like, do you train with her? Do you?
We don't really train with her anymore. There's been something kind of happened, and she's at we kind of are at separate gyms right now. I used to train with her. She's really good. You know, me personally, I don't have anything bad with her, but she just had to do what's best for her. So, I know she's a beast, and she looks like she's doing great, and good for her. So, other than that, though, I don't really train with her or anything. You know, I've been for a little while, so
Definitely.
she's the beast. Her last fight, she looked really good. You know.
Yeah. Now, when you hear the concept of Fight Island, like, how much you want to be a part of that? Do you feel like you rolling over there with, like, you know, Nate or Nick Diaz for a fight, you know, cornering them? I
would do it in a heartbeat. I would do it in a heartbeat. If they told me tonight, you got to fly out, I'd fly out for next flight out there. You know what I'm saying? It's just what I would do.
Definitely.
I mean, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Fighting on an island, like, what the hell? I'm doing everything at all costs to make it happen. You know?
Yeah, definitely. For sure. And, you know, I mean, that's what the UFC's at, man. They're signing a lot of people even just to, you know, take fights on short notice. So you feel like, you know, that
they're
could
signing a lot of, like, 3-1 fighters, too. Like, 4-1. Not really a lot of fights or anything, just a lot of, they're just signing everybody, you know, it seems like. Anybody who wants to fight.
Definitely. And for you, I mean, you have a pretty good record in MMA, so obviously, you know, you'd definitely be worthy of being signed. 4-0.
I'm just trying to make every contact possible. Everyone helps. That makes, you know, my name out there. So it's like, I would fight out there in a heartbeat. So if anyone, you know, could help or whatever, just reaches out to them. It's like everything helps. So that's all I'm doing is just trying to get my name out there more and more, you know.
Definitely.
Yeah, it does no harm, you know. So
For sure. And I mean, people are seeing you in submission on the ground. They're seeing what your skills are, you know. They're seeing your relentless pace and the opportunity to just, you know, finish these fights, you know, without going to overtime. So you feel like that's also going to help. They see your relentless pace and your winning attitude.
Yeah, I hope so, man. It's like, you know, we go in there to finish. It's not, I don't want to win by decision. It's, you know, our mentality is kill or be killed. So it's like, no matter what you do, it's just go all in or don't go in at all. And it's just, I don't know. Hopefully people can recognize that. Just trying to stay active and trying to be on people's radars. I think right now the last 2-3 submission undergrounds I've gotten more eyes off of it than I have anything else, because it's like that's all people are watching, and a lot of people are too scared to compete because they aren't doing anything. So it's like me being able to do something, I feel privileged, you know. So
Sure.
It's cool, you know. I'm just trying to make a name for myself while everyone's just chilling, sitting on the couch, you know. I know a lot of people who aren't training right now who are fighters. You know, a lot of fighters just aren't doing anything. So
Definitely. We look forward to seeing more of you, Nick. What would you like your fans to know about you, and what's going to be next? Like, if you had to, you know, let's say August, are you going to be ready to go in SUG?
Yep.
When it comes to August?
You better believe I'll be on the next SUG. I hope so. Hopefully I can get a good match and put on another show. Hopefully I might be fighting August 15th in Florida. That's the next goal. If I can fight at LFA at the end of the month, possibly. I don't know, man. I'm just trying to figure. I'm just getting everything I can. If someone says you want to fight tomorrow, it's like I'm going to take it. I just got to do it. You know, I'm at a point where it's like I can't be you can't be patient right now. You just got to be ready. So it's a different mentality, you know? Yeah.
For sure. And then talk about also, before I let you go, man, I know that California has, you know, instituted another shutdown. So, I mean, how's that going to affect things? Yeah.
It's terrible. I know San Joaquin, Stockton area is kind of closed down. I'm up in Chico. I know there's a gym out here that's not really closed right now, so I'm just hanging out there, but training and doing my thing, So I hate, I want to get out of this stuff. I hate it, but you gotta do what you gotta do, and just if they're requiring a shutdown, you just gotta do it, So
For sure. You and your training partners don't mind, meeting up in a basement or anywhere.
doesn't matter. You gotta get it in what you can, man. Everyone else is chilling. You just gotta keep going.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that about you, Nicholas, and we appreciate you being on the Fight Report. Everybody should keep an eye on you, and we're definitely going to be following up and do another interview of you. We appreciate you, of course, being on the show. So anyone you'd like to thank, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Shout out to Claiborne. They're my sponsors, Urban Water. They're my sponsors. Shout out to my team, my academy, and everyone. And, my representatives and managers, Dodge and Joey, and appreciate all of them. So it's good.
Definitely. Well, Nick Maximov, again, congratulations. The big win after SUG 16 and moving on to SUG 17 next month. So everybody check it out and check out the Fightlete Report as well. We'll have you back on and appreciate you taking time to be on the show. And, of course, the 209 representing as always. And, I don't know if you can see that magazine behind me.
Yeah, it's badass. Huh? Yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah. That's cool. Nate Diaz.
Yeah, I got to meet him in Vegas a few years ago. So.
Hell yeah. That's what's up. Badass.
Nice guy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
We appreciate you, being on the show. So take it easy and peace out.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good one. Thanks for having me.